samuha loiya sate gela nagara braje Bhagata samuha loiya sate gela nagara braje Tathai bajalo kol gana gana tahe janjera ro Micheni davashe gelore rati divasha sharira saje Micheni davashe gelore rati divasha sharira saje Emono dulabha manava deho kaya ki khoro bhavana ke ho Navajile jasoda suta charame pori belaje Navajile jasoda suta charame pori belaje Yudita tapan hoile asta vinogelo boli hoibe vyasta Yudita tapan hoile Keno ebe ala sahoy nabajari doya raje Keno ebe ala sahoy nabajari doya raje Jivanaya nita jana hasa tahinana vidha viparabha Namaskar kari jatan tumi taka hoy apon kaje Namaskar kari jatan tumi taka apon kaje Jivaya kalyana sadhana kan jagate asiye moduyana Timira tapana rupe ridga ghan viraje Timira tapana rupe ridga ghan viraje Krishna nam shudha kori apan jurao bakati binoda pran Krishna nam shudha kori apan Naam bina kichu nahi koyaro chauda bhuvana maje Naam bina kichu nahi koyaro chauda bhuvana maje Jeev jago Gaura Chandra bole Jeev jago Kotha nidra jao maya pisachi rakole Kotha nidra jao maya pisachi rakole Bajibo সংসার ভিতরে ভুলিয়া রহিলে তুমি অবিদ্যার ভরে তোমার লইতে আমি হইনু অবতার আমি বিন বন্ধু হার কে আছে তোমার এনেছে ঔষধি মায়া নাশিবার লাগি হরি নাম মহামন্ত্র লও তুমি মাগি বাকাতি বিনোদ প্রভু চরণে পড়িয়া সেই হরি নাম মন্ত্র লইল মাগিয়া হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Gurudev and Guru obeisances.
Jai, welcome.
Yeah, welcome to today's class. Nice to see you. I'll put the verse on the screen so we can start, please.
Attendance is really reducing, huh?
Yeah, they always come a bit 10 minutes, 5 minutes late.
Yeah. The number that comes is much less than in the beginning.
Yes.
Class was earlier also. This time eliminates anybody who works. Okay. So we already had Jayarada Madhava.
Yes.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 8, text number 7. Yeah. I'm not hearing anything all of a sudden.
Okay. Amantreya
Pandu,
Pandu
Putram,
Putrams
Cha,
Cha
Sine Yodava,
Saino Yodava
Samyuta,
Samyuta
Vaipayanadibi,
Dwapadayadvi
Vipraya, Pujitai, Pratipujita,
Pratipujita
Mancha Pandu Putrams Cha,
Amanteya Pandu Putramsha
Sign Ain Yod Baba Samyuta,
Saine Yodava Samyuta
Vaipayanadibir Viprai,
Vaipayana Devi Vipra
Pujitai Pratipujita,
Pujita Pratipujita
Amantra Panduputrams Cha,
Amantraya Pandu Putramsha
Vaipayanadibir Viprai,
Saina Yodava Samyuta
Pujita Pratipujita.
Pujita Pratipujita.
Okay, someone?
Amantreya Pandu Putramscha Saine Yodava Samyuta Dwaipayana Dibi Viprai Pujita Pratipujita
Payana the Vipra
Amantaya Pandu Putra
Saine Yod Baba Pujita Samyuta.
Who is chanting?
Amantaya Pandu Putramscha
Amantreya Banduputram Sa
Yoda Vasamyutaha
Saino Yoda Vasam Yuta
Dvapayana Devi Dvapanayana Devi Vipra
Vaipayana Divai
Pujitai Pratipujitaha
Pujitai Pratipujita
Amantriya,
Amantreya
inviting.
inviting
Pandu Putram,
Pandiputram,
all the sons of Pandu.
all the sons of Pandu,
Cha,
Cha,
also.
also
Saineya,
Saineya,
Satyaki,
Satyaki,
Uddhava,
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 Sangyutta,
Samyuta,
accompanied.
accompanied
Dvaipayana Devi,
Dvaipayana Dipi
by the rishis like Vyasdev,
by the rishis like Vyasadeva, Vedavyas,
Viprai,
Viprai,
by the Brahmanas,
by the Brahmanas,
Pujitai,
Pujitai,
being worshipped,
being worshipped,
Pratipujita,
Pratipujita,
Lord also reciprocated equally.
the Lord also reciprocated equally.
Lord Shri Krishna then prepared for his departure. He invited the sons of Pandu after having been worshipped by the Brahmanas, headed by Shri Vasdev. The Lord also reciprocated greetings.
Report.
Oh yeah, I'm waiting for translation. Apparently, Lord Shri Krishna was a Kshatriya and was not worshipable by the Brahmanas. But the Brahmanas present there, headed by Srila Vyasadeva, all knew him to be the personality of Godhead. Therefore, they worshipped him. The Lord reciprocated the greetings just to honor the social order that a Kshatriya is obedient to the orders of the Brahmanas. Although Lord Shri Krishna was always offered the respects of the Supreme Lord from all responsible quarters, the Lord never deviated from his customary usages between the four orders of society. The Lord purposely observed all these social customs so that others would follow him in the future. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksurumilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sajajatam Sahagana Bhagavanatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Padijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Cha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Astyacha Desatarane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namane Madhu Jojala Premaja Shirupanuga Bhaktida Shigora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namo Varsha Vanavi Devi Dayataya Kipab Daye Krishna Sambandha Vigyana Dayane Prabhave Namaha. Namaste Gauravani Shimurtaye Dina Tarane Rupanuga Viruda Apasadanta Twanta Harane Namo Gorakishwaraya Satchit Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambhode Kadambujaya Te Namaha. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namane Shigora Karuna Shakti Rupanuga Varayate Gauravir Bhave Bhume Stvam Nirdeshta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Jagannathaya Te Namaha. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodato Gaurodaya Pushpavanto Chitro Samdo Tamodo. That's wrong. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu, Dinabandhu, Jagatpate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namostate. Tapta Kanchana Gaurange, Radhe, Vrindavaneshwari, Vishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. Okay, a little lesson in culture here. Krishna was acting as a king at this point, king of Dwarka. So he did the dharma of a king. He got up early and did all the yagyas and rituals and everything that kings, that householders are supposed to do. Gave so many cows in charity every day, inconceivable numbers. From every palace, he gave 13,000 cows. So that sounds crazy, but we have that incident in Dwarka where Lord Brahma came to visit Krishna, and then Krishna said, which Lord Brahma is coming? And Lord Brahma couldn't understand, what do you mean, which Lord Brahma? There's only one. But when he got in the room, there were millions of Lord Brahmas in there from every other universe. And he was the smallest one. Some had 10 heads, 50 heads, 100 heads, millions of heads, depending on the size of the universe. So Krishna fit them all in one room. And on top of that, of course, Krishna's room might have been quite big, but still not big enough for even one Lord Brahma. And none of the others could see that anyone else was there. Only our Lord Brahma could see all the rest of them. The rest of them thought they were there alone with Krishna. So that's Krishna's mystic power. So this is a touching scene. This is what's leading up to Kunti's prayers. And Krishna's been there a long time after the battle of Kurukshetra and after the Pandavas were, established as the kings. And during that time, Krishna stayed. Now everything's sober and nice, and he wants to go back, and they don't want him to. I don't know if it was this time or not. Krishna saw Yudhishthira coming on another chariot, and Yudhishthira saw Krishna. He jumped off to pay obeisances. But before he could pay obeisances, Krishna was also already paying obeisances to him. Because according to the structure of the planet, Yudhishthira was the emperor. He's above the king of Dwarka. So Krishna was paying obeisance, but Krishna was faster than Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira was rushing as soon as he saw Krishna as fast as he could to make obeisances, but couldn't do it. So that's Krishna. Yad yad acharati shestas tad tad evetaro janaha. So yat pramanam kurute lokas tadanuvartate. That's one of our main verses of Bhagavad Gita that we learn. Most devotees that learn verses. And whatever examples a great man does, others follow. But everybody's great in the eyes of somebody. So somebody, whatever we do, somebody's going to imitate it. Someone's going to try to. Of course, there's a big difference between imitating and following. We want to be followers of this acharyas. We don't want to be imitators. We want to follow Prabhupada. We can't imitate Prabhupada. In the beginning days, everybody was wanting to imitate Prabhupada. Everybody, if you look at the old pictures, everybody wore their, like Prabhupada sannyasi cloth on the side. Everybody got the Prabhupada hat. Tried to walk like Prabhupada. So, we wanted to be like Prabhupada. That's a good idea. But then after Prabhupada left, some of the leaders, they wanted to imitate Prabhupada. They wanted to do just like him and have big, rituals every day, so worshiping them and things that Prabhupada didn't establish. They just came about after a long time, that Prabhupada had so many followers and people just started knowing that. They said, well, Prabhupada did it, so we have to do it. I'm the guru now, but that didn't work. And we've seen it with temple presidents also, parents. We get in that mode, but it says here, Krishna let the Brahmins worship him because they wanted to. But he reciprocated back. He didn't just sit back and say, yeah, now you're doing the right thing. He reciprocated their worship to him. So we have to learn from Krishna's example. He says when he's in Dwarka, he would rise early, even though the beautiful wives, were begging him, please stay in the bed longer. Let's enjoy. And he would do all the, whatever householders, as many things a householder, especially a king, is supposed to do every day. So many yagyas and so many prayers and he did all that perfectly. He was a perfect example. So we don't have all that. We just have Mangalartik and what else do we have? Anybody? Japa,
Then Guru Puja,
Bhagavatam class, Guru Puja,
Jankarati in the evening.
That's our, tapasya. Not so bad, So if someone's a householder, they may not be able to do a full temple program in so many hours it takes, but they can quickly do it, sing some songs, Guru Puja and Samsara Dava Nidaloka. Hopefully can chant some rounds. The most important thing, if you have a rush morning time, is to use time for japa. Make sure you get the japa done so that you can be connected with Krishna when you face all the stress and strain of the day's work. Yad yad acharati shrestas. There's another verse in the 6th canto, chapter 2. Yad yad acharati shreyan. Itaratas tat tat ihate, a little bit different. But then sayat pramanam kurute, lokas tat anavartate, the same thing is there. The mass of people will follow the example of a leader and imitate his behavior. They accept as evidence whatever the leader accepts, the mass of people. So that's one reason Lord Chaitanya, people already just trying to imitate Krishna and have rasa dance and everything. Lord Chaitanya, if you imitate him, you'll sing and dance all day. Not so bad. Shave your head and raise your hands and dance and chant Hare Krishna all the time. That would be good. So he came as a devotee, teaching by example. He didn't just talk about worshiping Krishna. He was worshiping Krishna. And like children, your new disciples, new devotees, they learn from what you do. They don't learn from what you say so much. If you're in a position of power and people are afraid, you can, make them do things out of fear, but that doesn't have any lasting. While they're doing it, they'll be planning how to overthrow you, like happens in politics all the time. So we have all these, they're not stories, they're examples. And, we see, especially in Vedic culture, respecting elders, respecting the brahmanas, respecting the sannyasis, respecting the mother and the father, and so many things. And I was just listening to my godbrother Vishnu John Swami. I put it on my Facebook. I sent it to the WhatsApp group, I think. Highly recommend it. It's a short talk about leaders, what kind of example we have to be. But he was saying how I think it was Sudama, he said, another sannyasi at the time. He said, we've been together for many years. We know each other. But when we wake up in the morning, the first thing we pay obeisance to each other, we touch the feet. This is culture. Children should come and touch the feet of their parents. Parents should go and touch the feet of the guru or the deity. So it comes down. If anybody breaks it, if I'm in a position of authority, but I don't follow the authority that's above me, the people under me, they're not going to want to follow me either. It's a very simple formula we've all seen happen. So we can, on and on. Usually it's better. I see Sahadev, the question man, is here today. So he usually comes up with something. And if anybody has questions, I'd rather work on that. All right. Sahadev still there? Yeah.
Yes, Gurudev. Sahadev, please, you have a question or what?
What's that picture? Oh, it's...
Yes, Maharaj, Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Good to see you, Maharaj. Well, I have one question, Maharaj. Until today, when you read from Prabhupada's papers, I always thought Krishna was a Vaishya, but here Prabhupada indicates that he's a Kshatriya.
Well,
if you can expand a little bit on that.
That's what Shishupal said. When they recommended Krishna to be the first worshipped at the Rajasuya sacrifice, he said, how can you worship him? Nobody knows if he's a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or where he came from, or nobody's sure. You can't worship a person like that. Yeah. So he was born from Vasudeva and Devaki. They're Kshatriyas. Then he was transferred and he became the child, and he was actually born of Mother Yasoda. And so he was Vaishya living in Vrindavan. And then when he moved to Dwarka, he became king again. So,
Okay.
so at this time when he's in Dwarka, he's living as a Kshatriya king. And that, so when they went to Kurukshetra for that eclipse, the gopis couldn't tolerate that. They were seeing Krishna, but it's not Krishna. It's not their Krishna. There's a king, you know, all decorated up and, you know, guards all around and so many things. And that was more painful than not seeing Krishna for them. Because there he was, but it wasn't him. They couldn't have the same relationship they always had with him. So Radharani really was distressed, and especially Radharani amongst everybody.
Mhm.
Krishna, we know he's not any of those things, like Lord Chaitanya said. I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya, I'm not a Sudra, I'm not a Brahmana, Das, Anudas. We know Krishna is above all that. But when he acts in a particular Varna or ashram, he perfectly acts. So in this case, he was acting as a king, Kshatriya.
Thank you, Gurudev. My question is on the
Thank you,
verse.
Maharaj.
My question is on the purport of Srila
That was
Prabhupada.
too easy, though, Sadhu. That was easy.
I have a question on the purport of
Maharaj.
that was too easy. Gurudev, I
Okay.
have one question on the purport where Prabhupada is mentioning that although Krishna was always offered the respect due for the Supreme Lord from all responsible quarters, Krishna himself never deviated from the customary usages between the four orders of society. So my question here is, it seems there is a condition attached to being offered that respect from the junior ones. When you say Krishna never deviated, then he was offered those respects.
Well, it says, I don't think they always offered him, like here it says they offered him worship, and he was leaving. But he reciprocated to honor the social order by reciprocating, you know, he was honoring their desire to worship him. But I never read about other places where every day Krishna was getting worshipped. You know, wasn't it normally he didn't do that. He was acting like a king, Kshatriya king. He was worshiping the Brahmanas a lot, giving Brahmanas, you know, millions of cows in charity every day and so many things, and engaging them in so many yajnas. But sometimes he did, you know, act like Krishna and do whatever he wants. But anybody can do that, if, you know, like when Narada Muni in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he was trying to find the devotee who got the most mercy from Krishna. And he went, you know, from one Brahmin and a king, and then Indra and Brahma and Shiva, and, you know, like Hanuman and Pandavas, and finally he got to Dwarka and Yadus, and then he got to Uddhava. So by the time he got, and everybody kept saying, no, 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 I'm nobody, I'm no good. Not me, I haven't got any mercy, Prahlad, everybody. Then he got to Uddhava, and he just came running up to Uddhava. Now, previously, like he came to Lord Brahma and he started glorifying Lord Brahma as the supreme person. And Brahma got, no, you can't say that, you know, and you start being really humble. So that's one way that someone's honoring you, but it's not the right, you know, position, you know, but they do it anyway but you can deny that, no, I don't deserve this, offer back something. So anyway, Uddhava saw Narada. Narada was by that time in so much ecstasy after, you can imagine, he'd been with Prahlad and the Pandavas and Yadus and Brahma and Shiva and, Hanuman. So he was in that time in ecstasy, and he came running up and started just speaking these really amazing glories of Uddhava. And it says that Uddhava didn't like that, but he didn't want to spoil Narada's ecstasy mood, so he allowed him to do it. You follow?
Yes, Gurudev.
He allowed Narada to, to just go on glorifying him like everything would. It wasn't his that he wanted it or he was relishing it or getting proud. He just thought, Narada's in so much ecstasy, I don't want to disturb him. So, a lot of different things we learn. We read more and more.
We have another question from Ivory Coast. Adok Saja, unmute yourself.
Okay.
Adok Saja, unmute your mic.
Hare Krishna.
Haribam.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Thank you. Gurudev, I have one question. It's about Prabhupada letter from one devotee. Prabhupada said that he have made so many devotees, then we should concentrate about this devotee and not to expand the movement, and the devotee, plenty devotee will come and you're not able to teach them Hare Krishna consciousness. Then you want that the devotees concentrate and in this devotee who are already there. Is like he took the example of milk. He said you should make the milk thick, then to add more water and the milk will not be a milk, it will become a water. Then I want to ask you now about the Christian movement now. What you think about this? What do you think about this?
Hare Krishna.
If you are Hare Krishna,
Prabhupada wanted balance always. So I don't think that he was saying we shouldn't go out and get more people to join, but we shouldn't only do that just to have big numbers. Brag that I have so many new devotees in my temple. When Prabhupada comes, I'm bringing the most devotees for initiation, when many times they weren't trained up at all, and then they would leave. So we wanted us to bring more people always. He was pushing that all the time, but at the same time train them. And I was thinking this morning also, when you're boiling milk, you have to be really careful. I don't know how much you've ever boiled milk, but you have to keep the flame just right. You have to keep stirring. If you don't stir, it'll boil over and foam all over the place and put out the fire. Or if you don't, it'll burn on the bottom, and then the milk becomes useless because it's burnt. And there's nothing like more obnoxious than burnt milk. Really, I burnt sweet rice once, and I ate the whole thing. It was so horrible. You have to be careful of boiling the milk also. And if you're not outreach, then you become really dried up. If you're not getting new people, nobody will be happy. The old devotees, they won't be happy to just sit around and study all the time or something, without any people to preach to, without any life. Because Lord Chaitanya's movement is to go out and meet people and tell them about Krishna. But if they do come to surrender, we have to take care of them. So it has to be a balance, right? You know, balance. Balance is very important. It's, you know, in martial arts, the main thing is to learn to be balanced, so you don't fall over, and so you don't just attack. You have to be, you know. So whatever we do, if you're studying, if you're a student, you have to balance your study with your play. Your study, devotees have to balance their work with their sadhana, you know. So we can't, okay, I'll just leave my job and I'll leave my family and just chant Hare Krishna because it's too much trouble to take care of it. We don't want to do that.
Guru Maharaj, where you are is dark. We're not seeing you again.
What?
Maybe there's no lights where you are staying.
Yeah, I have to move. I moved here for fresh air. Turn on those lights so you can help.
Okay. I have
I just
another.
look like you guys now, right?
Eh?
No facial speech or features.
It's good. I have another question on prayers and difficulties. Yes, now you are good.
Now you can see me a little
Yes, now it's good.
bit. Fresh air.
Well, another question I have, we got the news of the departure of your god brother in Mayapur, Pakajagana Prabhu.
Yeah.
So my question is on prayers and Krishna responding to devotees' prayers. Why is it that such a devotee worshiping Shingadev, all devotees' prayers, Krishna ignored and took him?
Because Krishna wanted him. His time was up. Time to be relieved of that troublesome body and be with Krishna in an understood way. So Prabhupada told us to pray Krishna if you so desire, not to pray, give us what we want, you know. We want him to stay. Prabhupada was begging devotees, don't ask me to stay, you know, I'm suffering too much. But they didn't want him to leave, but so that's why everyone's going to go, you know. But it's just, in one sense, it's very good for devotees because they pray and they're praying for someone else rather than themselves. And, you know, there's a lot more intense prayer going on. Nowadays, it's constant. There's always somebody we got to pray for. You know, right? Because Prabhupada disciples are old, you know. What's the average age in Nigeria? Lifespan?
Nobody knows. No official average age.
Well, even in America, it's 70 something, you know. Most of Prabhupada's disciples are older than that already. The average.
We have another question from Kaduna Temple, Ishkan Kaduna. Kindly unmute yourself. Your voice is very small and far away. We can't hear you.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Really appreciate your teachings. They are very, very wonderful. So my question is, since Krishna was a Shastriya, now I would like to know how the techniques, how he managed his 16,008 wives. I just like more enlightenment on that. Hare Krishna.
I couldn't follow what you said. How
he said that since Krishna is a Kshatriya, he wants to know how he managed his 16,108 wives, or his number of wives, how he managed that as a Kshatriya.
You ever read the book? Many kings had many wives. Even how many wives does your father have, Krishna?
My father has 6 wives.
Huh?
6.
Yeah, 6. So most people would say, how could anyone do that? Right?
Yes.
Most people can't handle one in Kali Yuga. But Krishna is God. He's Krishna. They all had their own palace, and Krishna was their home all the time because he just expanded himself. And he has unlimited opulence. So for him, it's nothing. He's handling the whole millions of universes and all the living entities and all the people in the spiritual world and everything. So 16,000 wives for him is nothing. That's like you keeping a goat or something. Okay? Like all of Krishna's wives thought, I'm very fortunate because Krishna's with me. The other ones must be crying. But they didn't know that he's with all of them. Even Narada Muni was amazed when he saw that. And he went to Krishna's different houses, and not only was Krishna there, but he was doing different things in each one. He was completely individual. One palace, he was having a meeting with somebody. Another one, he's playing gambling. Another one, he's playing with his kids. Another one, he's, eating with his wife. And, different everywhere. And that's Krishna. Okay.
Guru Maharaj, I have a comment on or a question from what he asked. It's on worship of the deities, different incarnations of Krishna. We worship Jagannath, we worship Shingadev, we worship Krishna Balaram, worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Maybe his question can also be asked if a devotee can choose a particular form of Krishna to worship, which form, because each form can give a particular kind of, is it punya or whatever, to worship Krishna. Maybe his question can be asked if one can worship that form of Krishna with so many wives.
Well, that's Dwarka Krishna. I don't know what you're meaning.
Like some devotees worship only Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They don't worship Radha Krishna due to offenses. In Jagannath Puri, they only worship Lord Jagannath. So which form of Krishna can a devotee actually worship according to his need or his nature?
Well, you can worship Jagannath, you can worship Gauranga, you can worship Krishna. It's not like you have to be doing puja for all of them. But then it's offensive if you think I'm worshiping Lord Chaitanya, but I don't care about Radha and Krishna. Lord Chaitanya is the real God, only Jagannath. But we may do our puja only for a particular deity that different devotees are attached to different deities. Attracted. Some worship Nishingadev. But it's not like they're rejecting all the other ones. Lord Chaitanya stayed in Jagannath Puri and went to the temple every day. We don't hear of him going to other temples, except he went when Jagannath was sick and not coming out. Then he went to that Alana and worshipped that deity, which is the forearm Krishna. When he traveled around India, he went to Nishinga temples, he went to Shiva temples, he went to Ram temples, he went to so many Vishnu temples, he went to so many temples. And he would just chant and dance wherever he went. Does that help? Is that something?
Yes, Gurudev, thank you. Any other question? Kindly ask or raise your hand. Gura Gopal, your hand is up. What's your question? Unmute yourself.
I guess my hand wasn't up. I was just scratching my head. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Sadev, you come up with any more? But Chardeshna Swami, how many disciples do you have now?
Maharaj, unmute yourself. You are muted.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my messages. Guru Prabhupada. Yes, no disciple yet.
No
Yeah.
initiations yet. Huh? Well, that's good. You're not rushing into it.
Yes, I've not started yet.
So let's get things moving there in West Africa with book distribution and everything.
Yes, Maharaj.
I don't know. I heard the Nigeria whole political, economic, everything is really amazing. Inconceivable, right? But that, that sometimes that's a better time for preaching when, like now in America, after all this lockdown and, all this insane stuff going on, people are much more receptive in general. They're not going to say everything's fine, everything's great, I don't need, everybody's got some realization they need some God, they need something. I have to run for a couple of minutes, I'll be right back.
Yes, Gurudev. Yes, Gurudev. Yeah, welcome back.
More people joined in there.
Yeah, we're eating here now.
Atma Devi. I don't know I know Atma Devi just came recently. Shrivas, Haribol, how many disciples do you have? I mean, that's not
you are muted.
That's the purpose of being a guru is how many disciples you have. Dr. Shardas Babaji had only one, but it was quite a special one. Yeah, Gosh Prabhupada. Any comments or questions?
No.
But this verse today is, if you know the rest of the chapter, it's, everybody, Krishna is leaving after being there for 2 or 3 months. And everybody is really used and tended to Krishna being there. Now he's leaving. They don't want him to leave, so they're trying everything, working in, and crying and begging, and they want him to stay.
I have a question based on what you said now.
Yeah.
They did not want Krishna to live because he was very kind to the inhabitant of Dwarka.
No,
But
he's
then my question,
he's in Hastinapur now.
so my question is on offenses. When devotees want a particular devotee to leave or to be sent away, if the person is not behaving nicely, the devotees can also act like they don't want him to stay. So is that an offense?
I don't understand.
When in the issue of Krishna, they don't want him to leave. They were begging him to stay.
Yeah.
But among devotees, we see that devotees at a time want a particular devotee or authority to leave the environment. So is that an offense when devotees want somebody to leave the environment?
It depends on that person. What's he doing? Why do they want him to leave? You know the story of Ramachandra Puri and Lord Chaitanya's Leela? He was a disciple of a godbrother of Lord Chaitanya's guru, Ishvara Puri. But he was just totally offensive. He was Mayavadi, he'd been cursed by his guru. But he was a sannyasi, he was a learned scholar. But his whole business was just to criticize devotees. He would always trying to see how much they're eating, and he'd invite them for prasad, and he would eat more, eat more, eat more. And they'd try to refuse, and then he'd say, just see, you're eating too much, you're not a real sannyasi. And even criticized Lord Chaitanya, and it created it, it's a long story, but everybody wanted him to leave Puri. And Lord Chaitanya reduced his eating by half because of him, and then all the devotees that lived off Lord Chaitanya's remnants, they were also getting almost nothing. And when he left, everybody was so happy, everybody was rejoicing. And it felt like a big load had been taken off their head, So it depends, if sometimes in our community or our ashram, there's somebody that's just making a lot of trouble, and we have to, they can't live there. They should be somewhere else. Many times. But other times, if it's just a personal thing, I don't like this person, or he might get my position, I want him to leave, that's offensive. There's no hard and fast rules. You have to examine every circumstance. You have to have some intelligence. The discrimination is the better, is required.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, brother. Thank you.
Sometimes someone should leave, and other devotees are sentimental. You can't kick him out. He did so much before, but then they make trouble big sometimes when you don't kick them out. We had that happen in Ghana. I won't get into it. All right. So like Prabhupada, devotees were praying like anything that Prabhupada wouldn't leave. And Prabhupada said, please don't make me stay. This body's finished. Let me go, And so they're praying for Pankajanri to stay, but maybe, he would have been weak and sick and not able to really do his service anyway, and would not have been happy hanging around because he liked to be busy and do a lot of service. So, but still the devotees, were able to really think of their love and appreciation, and, there's so much extra chanting and so much was going on. So that's all very good. But the results are up to Krishna. You pray to Krishna, but don't get mad if you don't get what you're praying for exactly. And Krishna knows what's best. That's why ultimately we just pray for service. That's the highest prayer, not anything specific. So somebody might have been praying, let him stay, let him stay. Someone else is praying, let him always remember you and always be with you. And, you know, so he definitely had a good life since 50 years. For many years, they never left Mayapur, those two. Just doing the deity worship. Finally, they would go to different temples in India for deity installation festival. Otherwise, they didn't go anywhere. All right.
Yes, Gurudev, thank you. In the absence of no more question, we let Guru Maharaj take rest.
Yeah, I have another class. And
We ask all devotees to kindly unmute yourselves. Let's chant Hare Krishna. Gurudev for comment.
Sahadev, only one easy question. Getting dull in your old age, or just too tired today?
It's not work.
Maharaj, I have a question in the chat room.
Yeah.
He say he has a question in the chat room. He's at work now.
When Krishna played the trick that he had a headache and would only be cured by the lotus feet of dust, the Brahmins all said, no, this is not possible. The gopis offered the dust. The devotees condemned the gopis' act, but Krishna was pleased. So as sadhakas, when do we act based on just doing it and following everything to the letter, even if it's opposed to what? That's too much, you know. The gopis, I never heard of anybody condemning their acts, but they just thought they were risking their life because, you know, to put your feet on Krishna's head is offensive. But if Krishna wants that, then it's good. So Krishna was happy. So they might have said, you know, when Narada Muni said, aren't you worried about offending that your dust of your feet will fall on Krishna's head? They said, no. If it helps Krishna get rid of the headache, then it's very good. If we're having a conflict with the authorities, you know, there's different ways to try to work that out. But that has to be done with some discretion also. That's the whole system, you know. Because every authority has some authority above them. So sometimes we have, but you don't just jump over, but if it's something important, you know, if it's just an everyday thing, we just go along with the local authorities. But if it's some ongoing thing, then we have to go to higher authorities in a nice, polite way. All right?
Yes, Gurudev. Thank you
Thank
very
you all
much
very much.
for coming.
Good time. Everybody chant. We need
Please
to
let's chant Hare Krishna for Gurudev for coming. Please unmute yourselves.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram,
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram.
Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare.
Bhakti
Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Saraswati Namo. Srivar Sabhanavi Devi Rahitaya Kripadhani Krishna Samman